Welcome to In the Spotlight. I'm Abigail Pogrebin. The New York Times calls him one of the most nuanced online commentators on Israel and Jewish people. Hen Mazzig is a globally recognized speaker, educator, author, and digital influencer with over 700,000 followers and content that reaches 100 million users. He has been featured in the BBC, on CNN, The Washington Post, Sky News, and so much more. He was named among Allgemeiner's top 100 people positively influencing Jewish life, and he's one of the top 50 most influential Jewish LGBT voices. Hen also received Camera's Portrait in Courage Award. His best-selling book is The Wrong Kind of Jew, which was released in 2022. In 2019, he co-founded the Tel Aviv Institute, dedicated to researching and combating online antisemitism. In 2024, Jewish News named him a top 20 young Jewish creative in the UK, and the Jerusalem Post recognized him among the top 25 most influential young Jews. Whew. Welcome to the broadcast, Hen Mazzig. And you haven't done anything yet. My gosh. It's time to rack up some achievements.
Right. Well, this is a big achievement for me to speak to you.
Oh, it's so nice.
Yeah?
We're so glad to have you on JBS. And I will
you.
just say personally, you have given me spine, courage, and a path forward when we were have been reeling from what's been happening in the last 18 months and the slings and arrows that come daily. So thank you for all of that. I just want people to understand sort of who you are in the Jewish firmament. Can you just give a sense of your Jewish bio, where you grew up?
Yeah, I grew up in Israel. My family came to Israel from Iraq and North Africa, Tunisia. My family from my mother's side were Iraqis. My family from my father's side were Tunisians. And I grew up in Israel, had very happy childhood, and served in the army for 5 years instead of 3 because I was a commander, so I extended my service, and my work was focused on helping Palestinian civilians in the West Bank and Gaza, where
I want to make sure we slow down there.
Yes.
Your work in the IDF was to help Palestinians.
Right.
In what way?
Contrary to what the media would probably say, but the IDF does care about civilians, and the job of my unit is called the COGAT unit, the Coordinator of Government Activities in the Territories. The goal of this unit is to help Palestinian civilians and to support them with giving humanitarian aid, facilitating humanitarian aid, working with the Red Cross to facilitate family visits for Palestinian prisoners that convicted terrorists that are held in Israeli prisons. We still have to allow family visits according to the Geneva Convention. So that's something we would do with the Red Cross. I'm bringing that up, of course, for obvious reasons. The Red Cross hasn't done anything to help the families of the hostages to see. They haven't done anything effective to help them. And I'm speaking with the Red Cross, and I'm trying to push for it. But I think that there's just a different
standard. You still have connections there.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was working with them. I was working with UNRWA, the UN agencies to help Palestinian civilians, and all of those wonderful organizations that have been really
so helpful.
It's unfortunate, but I think all of this experience from doing it in Hebron, Ramallah, and in Gaza for 5 years gave me a lot of experience and knowledge to be able to speak about these issues in the way that I do today. After 5 years of service, I lived in New York for a few months. I worked in the 92nd Street Y as a counselor, camp counselor. And then I fell in love with America and with American Judaism. It was so new to me, coming from a Orthodox Sephardi Mizrahi background. It wasn't something that I knew. Reform Judaism was mind-blowing for me.
Very foreign.
Very foreign. And then I moved to Seattle. I lived in Seattle for 2 years. I worked there as a campus coordinator for a few Jewish organizations. I worked with Stanwida, Hillel, all those Jewish organizations, and I've seen what's going on college campuses. And being a left-wing Israeli progressive that cares about human rights, cares about justice and equality, I was really blown away by how I was not accepted. There was so much pushback just for being who I am.
And this is all pre-October 7th?
Pre-October 7th, we're talking 2012.
Wow.
That so long ago. And I've seen the BDS movement starting there. And I've seen all of it. And I think just being involved, I just saw it accumulating. And after 2 years, I moved back to Israel. I started a social media company. Back then it was just Facebook, and there weren't many social media platforms to use. I worked with tech companies and startups. I was still involved in the Jewish world, but not as I am today. My social media company was hired to do a few presidential campaigns, including in Ghana, to do social media campaigns. And I've seen how I was able to use social media to elect presidents around the world. And I've, in about 7 years ago, still been involved in this work and writing, but it was just a hobby, not really my work. I was doing social media. I've seen that there's a need to do something for our community that is serious. And I often told myself I care about it, I do what I can on the side, but it's not fair because I'm not taking it as seriously as I take my social media work. So if I want to take it seriously, I really need to put all my time and energy into it. And I started the Tel Aviv Institute, which is an American nonprofit, contrary to what people would think. Together with Dr. Ron Katz, he's an expert on rhetoric and propaganda from UC Berkeley. We started an organization that the goal was to really research online hate. And I think since then, since 7 years ago, until October 7th, I was just preparing for what was about to happen.
Like you really had a sense, partly just because of the growth of overt anti-Semitism, that something was going to explode.
Yeah, and I never imagined it the magnitude of what we have all seen on and offline. But I knew that it was there, and I knew the way that the left, which I'm part of, the progressive movement, which I feel like I'm still part of, although even if many in my movement don't reject me, I felt like they were really misguided. And I think that people should use their voice wherever it matters most. And because I'm on the progressive and because I'm on the left, I use my voice to speak up about issues that I care about. And that was the main issue that I care about, that I feel like they're really failing on.
So since October 7th, your profile has risen exponentially. Did you know that it was happening while it was happening, or did you suddenly wake up and realize I suddenly have this many followers, or this many famous people are calling me for advice because you're apparently the celebrity whisperer? Like how did the kind of your public profile dawn on you?
Yeah, I mean, I do think that it's my experience that led me to it, and I feel like the fact that I'm speaking Hebrew and Arabic, and I'm able to read in Arabic and in Hebrew and in English, and I'm able to really see the ecosystem of the news before they even become news, really helped me, because I was able to shape things and craft messaging that really affected everyone. I'm reminded in October 7th, when everything was happening and I was opening my laptop and starting to tweet and post, I read about Nova Music Festival. Have you heard it being referred to as a peace music festival?
Yes.
It was a peace, right. So I was the first one to call it a peace music festival. The truth is that there's no literature or materials calling it a peace music festival. I added the word peace because I knew those festivals and I knew what it was about. I said, this is what I'm going to say, because this would help people understand what this festival is about. And then the next week...
And that's the truth. I want to make viewers
absolutely
clear. Right.
It's the truth. It is a peace music festival, but no one said it.
It wasn't characterized like that officially in any way.
Exactly, because we think that people would just understand. Like, people would know that we are on the right side. And it's not the truth. I mean, we see clearly that people do not understand what is the truth. And then a few weeks later, Biden came to Israel after October 7th, and I remember him in his speech saying, those kids at the Nova Festival were celebrating peace. They were there in a peace music festival. And I was like, I was really happy, yes, but it worked. And I think there are so many anecdotes throughout the time, but the important thing is that we need to tell our story better, and that's what we've been failing in as a community.
And why do you think we've been failing?
Because we are reacting, and because it's emotional for us, and for a lot of people it's not emotional. For a lot of those protesters, they don't care what happens in Gaza, no matter what they say. They don't really care. We care. It's so deeply emotional, and it's taxing for us, and we feel like when people don't understand us, we feel like, okay, the hell with them. And that's not my approach. My entire life, when people told me no, I kept fighting so it will be yes, and I think that's what I'm doing now. And seeing that effect and how the snowball becoming larger and larger, and more people coming to my page, and celebrities and heads of states and people that are really important wanted my advice, I realized that I can make an impact through being the first one to craft the news in a way that if I'm responding to the news 24 hours later, even if I respond to the news 20 minutes later, the news is out there and there's already a narrative being built. The ability that I had to get ahead of them, of the news and the mainstream media, was really helpful.
So I know it's hard to deconstruct just in the abstract, but what would you say, how would you characterize your approach?
I think that if we are in our echo chamber, if we just speak to Jews that support our cause and we don't speak to anyone else, we will never be able to speak to people in a way that they can hear us. And my approach is to meet people where they're at. And I'm always thinking of how my messaging is going to affect people that are seeing it. Like, who is my audience? If it's just Jews, then I can say whatever I want to say and they would support it because we probably think alike. But while many of my followers are Jews, I know that they're sharing it to non-Jews. You know, the fact that 150 million users a month, that's the average viewership of my content.
Wow.
So that means that there aren't 12. There are 150 million Jews in the world. So my content is being viewed by non-Jews as well, a lot of them. So everything I put out there is, I try to lead with kindness, but I also try to explain things very thoroughly in a short, I mean, it sounds contradictory, but I need to explain everything. I can't just say, you know, we care about Palestinians. I need to say I care about innocent Palestinians because I need to make sure that they know that I'm not speaking about Hamas terrorists, because I'm sorry, I don't care about their well-being. But we do care about them. And I don't think any Jewish people, even the Jews that are upset about October 7th like I am and are so hurt, and I am more hurt, I mean, I lost friends, I'm devastated by what happened. I don't think anyone really condoned the idea of genocide. I don't think anyone in our community, even if I hear some people saying things that are really controversial and very, I would never agree with them. I know it comes from a place of pain and trauma, but we need to be careful because that's being weaponized against us. So I always think of how my message would land with the people I speak to, and my audience is global, and I just try to meet people where they're at. And one more thing about that is that I often see that influencers, especially the Jewish ones, sometimes are too quick to make jokes and to make light of the situation, and that's very dangerous because when people in the street and people in the media even are saying that there is a genocide, that we are killing people every day, and our response is to make fun of it and to make light of it or to mock it.
Mock the accusation, not mock the genocide.
Sometimes even some people are even mocking that, I mean.
I'm not positing that it's a genocide, but
right.
the loss of life. You're saying that
life.
people are making light of, like, oh, poor, you know.
Of the loss of life, but also of the entire situation. It's, I mean, to make fun of the war, to make fun of the Palestinians, or to make fun of whatever is happening there and the casualties that we're seeing. I think that it's just, it portrays the Jewish community in such a bad light that one side is talking about genocide and many in our side
look callous.
Yeah, exactly.
There are people who have huge followings, as you do, who shape public opinion, who shape the culture and sometimes political wins. So when they need help, and particularly those who have public profiles, not because they're Jewish, but they happen to be Jewish, how has that happened? Like, how did you become kind of the red phone?
Right. I mean, the thing we found at Tel Aviv Institute, we're doing a lot of research and messaging research and data analysis, and we found that young people are 87% more likely to trust an influencer's opinion than media sources. And we found that they see, according to the polling that we've done, the conversation we did focus groups, young people are seeing influencers as their friends. And when an influencer tells you something, you feel like it's an advice from a friend, so you can really trust them. And that's fine when it comes, I mean, fine. There's moral conversation to have there, but it's not as detrimental when it comes to selling a makeup kit or selling, you know, product. But what happens when those influencers are being paid to promote a narrative and to promote lies that put Jewish people's life at risk? And we've seen that happening with many. And I think even more dangerous than this is the fact that we are in a culture that to be anti-Israel is quite popular today. And we've seen artists like Lizzo that was cancelled, the female singer was cancelled for sexual harassment, and she came back into the world of social media with a video about Palestine and saying that there's a genocide in Palestine and she stands against it. Or J-Lo that couldn't sell tickets to her concert, and then an item came out that she gave $2 million to Gaza. Not sure how or where, but that came out. And there are so many has-beens like Cynthia Nixon or Susan Sarandon that are not working anymore, but for them to become relevant and have news is to be anti-Israel. And you'll take it all the way to the extreme, like Kanye West. Kanye West tried for years to become relevant with his racism to the black community, saying things like, quote-unquote, slavery wasn't a choice, and then he came out with White Lives Matter. And that didn't work as effectively as it was for him to be an anti-Semitic and saying I am an anti-Semite.
And now he's back in the news.
And now he's back in the news.
Wow.
So that's the reality. That's where.
I mean, there's no way to parry that.
Yeah.
There's no way to respond to that, is
Right.
there? I mean, if it's essentially feeding an appetite that is rewarded.
Yeah, it is. And I think the way to fight it is by rewarding good behavior and calling out people when they need to be called out, but not focusing only on calling out people, but by also elevating positive. I think the reason that many influencers and celebrities and voices in this in our community and even outside of our community has reached out to me and to my page is because they feel like they can trust me. I make mistakes and I hold myself accountable. If I posted something that I found out was false later on, happened to me twice in the last 18 months, I posted an apology, and I didn't just delete it. I also posted an apology and said this was a mistake that I've done. That's something that is not
unusual.
really,
Yeah.
And
And what about your own friendships? Because many of ours have been tested, and particularly young people who were in progressive spaces, had progressive allies. Did you experience anything that changed after October 7th?
No, absolutely. So many people that I marched with, that my partner and I have been with. My partner lost almost all of his friends in London. People that we march with against racism with, people that we march for trans rights for, even a good friends of ours that was a trans woman that needed help with her transitioning, and we were supporting her both financially, and we were there for her. On October 8th, she saw my partner and she said to him, I don't want to talk about it because you know which side I'm on. And he said to her, it was October 8th, said, Hen's family, the Hen that supported you and helped you and stood with you and marched with you and gave you money for what you needed because no one else would. And she said, well, it doesn't matter because all that matters right now is Palestine. Of course, we couldn't speak to her after that, but it was heartbreaking. Still is. And
your partner, can I mention, is not Jewish?
Is not Jewish, yeah.
So it was just by association that...
He's not Jewish, he didn't post anything. He stopped posting on social media since October 7th. He just couldn't handle it. And all of his friends, we're talking like 95% of his friends just stopped talking to him because of me. And they would tag him in my post and would say like, look at your husband. He's very proud of me. I mean, the saddest part for me is that he is dealing with it, and he said to me once that while I have my community and I have my family and my Jewish friends, we're all going through it together, and he feels like he's part of it now as well, but he didn't have this, the support system that I have as a non-Jewish partner of, and I'm sure there's many non-Jewish partners that are going through it, and I think it's much harder for them than it is for us, because we kind of knew that it's going to happen one day. We were told by our parents, grandparents that the world is not can be trusted, but it's much harder. But if anything, it pushed him to learn Hebrew. It pushed him to want to convert now. So yeah. But
you're also spending so much time emphasizing the positivity of being Jewish. I saw you when you were MC or co-MC at the ADL Never Is Now conference. You actually said, like, being a Jew is, what did you call it? Like hip? I can't remember because I'm so unhip.
Oh, I said it's the most punk thing there is.
Oh yeah, most punk thing. What does that mean, Hen? Translate for our viewers.
I mean, the punk culture that is so cool, and it's like the people that are going against the mainstream, the people that are doing the things that are not popular, but actually they are secretly the most popular, the people that are setting the trends before the trends are happening. I think that's the Jewish people. And I think to be Jewish today, in an age where it's really populistic on both far right and far left, and both are concerning, to hate Jewish people justifying it in a different way. To be Jewish today, I think is the coolest thing someone can do, and to be proud about it, and to not seek confirmation or approval from people that are not really your friends. I mean, the people that we lost, my partner and I, we always say, like, we're lucky to have lost them this way and not in a... You don't mean lost in October 7th,
no, you
sorry.
mean lost as friends.
Yes,
right.
It's the friends that we that have given up on us.
Yeah.
It's better that it happened this way than when we really needed them and they weren't there. We really needed them this time, but it's better that we
now you really know
got
who
them
your
out of
friends
our
are.
lives. Yeah, exactly.
And it's also like you keep kind of twisting the assumptions, turning the assumptions. I just want to quote you. You said, "I am a Zionist. I believe in the right of Jews to our ancient homeland. But I can't advocate the national rights of Jews while ignoring another people's right to self-determination." You talk a lot about Palestinians, and many Jewish spaces that I run in, actually even mentioning Palestinians right now almost confers a sense of betrayal, because we should just be with our people right now. So how do you navigate that?
Oh, I'm 100% for the Jewish people and Israel. And even when I speak about Palestinians, it's because I love the Jewish people and Israel. Everything I do stems from my love to our people. And I'm not going to apologize for it. I don't think we should. I mean, I'm very proud of this. And because of it, I would never allow our people and our country to, or even if it's changing somehow to something else, I would be there to fight for us. Because I think that on October 7th, Hamas didn't just try to eradicate Israel. They knew they don't have the manpower to take over the entire country. But they were trying to do the worst they can do so that we will be so harmed and that the soul of the country, rather than the army and the military, that we have capabilities that they will never have and they can't even challenge. But they tried to change what Israel is and what Jews are, and they wanted us to become like them. And I think the biggest fear that I have today is that, I don't think we'll never be like them, but that we'll adopt some patterns of their behavior, and that we will think that some killing of innocents is justified in some cases, and I don't think it's justified. It's never justified. It happens in wars, but we need to call it out, and we need to be able to hold both truth, that Israel is fighting for a just cause. This war is just, but we don't want this. We're not, in one of the events that I was speaking at a few months ago, I think it was in San Francisco, a Jewish lady said to me, I can't believe that I'm on the side of war, that I'm pro-war. And I said, but you're not. You know that we are the ones that don't want this war to happen. She said, yeah, but on the other side, they're calling for a ceasefire. I said, but they don't really call for a ceasefire. They are calling for Israel to drop its weapons because they want Israel to cease to exist, and they want us to not care about the hostages. Even when we are supporting the justification of this war, we're not supporting the war. Israel does not want this war. We didn't go on this war on October 7th. There was peace on October 6th. And if the hostages would be released, I'm telling you 100% there would not be any justification on the Israeli side to continue this war and to continue the fighting in Gaza.
But I want to just go back to the quote. You talked about we should not ignore another people's right to self-determination. So are you saying that you are for a Palestinian state?
I'm saying that I support the self-determination of other people the same way that I support the self-determination of the Jewish people. If I knew how this conflict should be solved and can be solved, it would be much more important than just
and richer.
Yeah, totally. I don't know what the answer is to this conflict. A few years ago, I was a staunch supporter of a Palestinian state. Now I'm thinking that we need to have some healing on both sides, some reconciliation, and thinking of what then tomorrow would look like. But I don't think that I can say that I'm against a Palestinian state as a Zionist, because Zionism is about the self-determination of a minority, and I can't deny other people of this right. So if Palestinians want a state of their own and they want national rights and national liberation, I think we have to allow it to happen, of course in the condition that they will not kill us.
I don't think everyone realizes you yourself were in a terrorist attack. Can you just take a minute to explain?
Yeah, when I was 12 years old, I grew up in Petah Tikva. It's a small suburb of Tel Aviv. And it was the heights of the Second Intifada, and almost every day there were terror attacks in Israel. And I went to get ice cream in a store near my home, and my mom said, be very careful. And as I was walking to the ice cream shop, I saw an old lady and holding a baby, and I was about to walk in, and the place blew up. And I was thrown back, and I don't remember much after getting up. I remember ambulances and people running around, and I just ran back home. I wasn't injured severe, there was just light stuff, but I went back home and my mom was crying as well, and I remember her saying, "You're alive, you're alive, you're alive," as she was shaking me and like crying. And yeah, that was the first time that I've faced this conflict.
So finally, you've been to a lot of campuses, and obviously it's quieted down, but we know kind of what simmered there and could again. What's your advice to those watching who have either grandkids or kids and many have said, I'm opting out of this. It's too fraught. It's too difficult. Like, how would you kind of give them a nudge not to walk away? And I'm not saying walk away from their Judaism, but maybe their public Judaism.
Right. I mean, I think that being Jewish and alive today is a miracle. We all know that we should not be here, and we are. Because we rose from the ashes, and like Phoenix, we came up and we were strong and we are resilient, and that's something to celebrate. And I think that there's different ways to engage with it. Not everyone should be like me on social media giving tips on how to counter arguments, and you don't have to argue with all the time. I think just being proudly Jewish and bringing out the Jewish joy is such an important part of fighting antisemitism. It might be even more important than just arguing with people in the street or online about who's right about Israel and Hamas in Gaza. I think we need to celebrate that and focus on that, and that's why my show, And They're Jewish, that is coming out on a new...
Yes, he has a new show, not to be missed, coming up on YouTube.
Yes,
and it's called And They're Jewish.
And They're Jewish, and it's really one of the most... since for the last 18 months, I wasn't as happy about anything as much as I am about this show.
Oh, great. Why? Why does this give you so much gratification?
Because it's so happy and it's so joyful and so uplifting. It's called And They're Jewish because, you know, the saying when you sit with the Jewish friends and you're talking about someone, you say, oh, and they're Jewish, which is usually coming in a very positive way because they're doing something so amazing and we're very proud of them.
And on top of it, they're Jewish.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And I want to remind people why they fell in love with people like Deborah Messing that I'm interviewing, or Mayim Bialik, or Emmanuel Cherki, or even fields like art. I'm interviewing Zoe Buckman, she's an artist, and she talks about her upbringing, or styling, or reality TV. Every episode I go to a different visionary, Jewish visionary. There's an episode with Alexandra Sosha that plays Galinda in Wicked on Broadway.
She's great.
Yeah, and we're doing like vocal cords, warm up, and I learn how I should never sing because it's probably not for me. But it's like it's so uplifting, and I hope that Jews would watch it and would be happy, but then I hope that they would send it to their non-Jewish friends, and that would be shared by everyone, because it's really a reminder that we're not just about trauma. We're not just about pain. Being Jewish today is a miracle because we are resilient. We're not just survivors. I know we are survivors, but we're also our future is bright. I know it.
That's a perfect way to end. We will give the link to the show and to your Instagram because I follow it and I learn from it every day. Is there anything else that's Hen Mazzig that people should know is out there? Is it a YouTube channel or anything else?
Yeah, so the YouTube channel Hen Mazzig, and if you want to learn more about the work we're doing at the Tel Aviv Institute, it's tlvi.org. Yeah.
If people need advice, now you're going to get bombarded.
Oh yeah, hit me up.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
I'm Abigail Pogrebin for In the Spotlight. I will see you next time.